Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Sports Show right here on Smash FM here on Lockdown Tuesday here in Melbourne. Of course, let's go up to our friends in Sydney in particular. And of course, these two particular athletes, they'll be actually going to the other side of the world next week, of course, to the US and start their college softball over there. Of course, they're both from the Hornsby Softball Association. And they're joining us right now. Thanks, both, for joining us.
Oh, no, thank you for having us. Yeah. Kind of excited. Haven't really been doing anything lately, so it gives us something to do.
I'll get both of you to introduce yourselves and tell us what position our Australian listeners will get to see you on the field when you're in college.
Okay, so I guess I'll go first. My name is Kandra. I'm 20 years old and I'm a pitcher. So middle of the mound, center of the diamond, that's kind of my thing.
I'm Teoni. I'm 18 and I'm also a pitcher. So we kind of play the same position.
Yeah.
Very indifferent year this year, but I guess lucky for the actual national side of softball, obviously the summer softball, that you have had the luxury of completing at least some sort of a season. Last summer. I guess, how did you go in the summer of softball?
I played back here in Hornsby and it was good. It was just like every weekend you played your sport, your games, played 2 games a day, made it to the finals, gave it a crack, just didn't get there, but yeah, played every week, trained every week for your team, 2 training sessions. It was like a normal season until the end where we were lucky enough just to finish before the pandemic started. So.
Yeah, and then I started off January in the US in Lafayette, Louisiana, where we were just getting ready for our season. So we were all pumped already. We got maybe a third way into our games when COVID hit. But no, it was really cool. We got to play some really good teams like LSU and Florida. And we gave them a run for their money. Went 1-1 with LSU. Beat Florida 2 out of 3 game series. So yeah, it was pretty exciting start of the season. And I wish it could have continued. But yeah, fortunately.
Now, we mentioned in the intro that both of you are going to the US as of next week. I guess how exciting is that to, have you, I know this is going to sound a really silly question to add on to this question, which is, have you counted down the days to going to the US?
I think for me now, it being my 3rd year now, it's kind of like not as much as a novelty going over each time. It's kind of like, yeah, it's coming around again. But I know like every time in the car and it gets close to my due date, like our parents will be in the car and they'll be like 2 weeks to go now. And we'll be like, okay, yeah, sure. Or like, you guys got a month now. And we're like, okay, yeah, sure. But I feel like for you, it's going to be a bit more of like.
Yeah, it was a bit different. It was more like you'd be 6 months out and you're like, oh yeah, it's coming, I'm going. It's nothing really until you get closer to now. And then you're really like, oh, I'm going to college in a week. Oh, it really starts to kick in. And then, again, your parents are always like, you got this long, aren't you going to miss this and this and this? And you're like, well, it's just how it works. It's happening that way. Right. Yeah.
Now, I guess going from leaving home in Australia, especially in Sydney, where obviously the situation is a lot different to it is over there at the moment with their current situation. I guess both of you, feeling confident that everything's going to be all good and okay once you arrive in the US in regards to when you arrive at your colleges?
Yeah, I feel like overall we can really only hope for the best, and feeling like going over there is what we want to do. We want to get our degrees over there while also playing a sport that we obviously love. And it's just kind of like the risk is sort of worth it, but it is definitely a lot different situation over there. It's a lot more impacted over there with COVID and everything. So definitely a little bit worried, but overall it's kind of like we're there to take the risk. Like, it's something we want to do, we want to pursue, and we're ready for it. It's what we want to do.
How has it been like in the new COVID normal for yourselves? Because obviously the cases are not as bad as down here in Melbourne. Obviously, you've had a chance to play some games, do some training there at Hornsby. How do you think the preparation's been like for both of you to be ready to go to the US in regards to once their season is underway?
It was a bit rocky to begin with because like all training stopped and everything, but you just really had to try and do it at home. I was lucky enough, my college gave me a program that I did at home, like four days a week, as well as trying to pitch by ourselves, as well as bat as much as we could until all trainings came back, and then we pitched 2 to 3 times a week, and then we went back to batting training and rep training and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the most difficult thing was just trying to figure out what was within restrictions and what we could do and what we couldn't do, and try to fit that in as much as we could. And as restrictions got easier, we found that it was easier to get our normal training routines done throughout the week. And like now that we're still playing like club softball here, like it's like now just before we're going, it's a lot easier to get what we need to get done.
I have to ask this question for the fact that as we mentioned, that you're leaving next week to go to the US. How's this weekend going to be like in regards to playing wise? Is it going to be, I shouldn't say emotional, but I guess almost like a sort of a farewell game to your teammates there at Hornsby?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a like not going to see you for a little bit sort of thing. So you've got to be a lot of, well, not a lot of hugs because we can't hug, but sort of like that kind of atmosphere going on. But yeah, it shouldn't be too emotional, at least not for me, because I've been doing it for a little bit now. Maybe for this one, it might be a little bit more intense.
Yeah, it's a bit weird finally saying like goodbye and not seeing them every week, like 2 to 3 times a week. It's going to be a bit strange, but you're going further. It's a new journey to start, and it's worth it. And you always keep contact with these people. They're like lifelong friends you have.
Now let's talk a bit about where both of you are going to college. For everyone that's already missed it already, whereabouts are both of you going for college? And for everyone who have no idea where that is over in the US, tell us where exactly is that college over there as well.
Okay, so I'm going to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, which is in Louisiana. And it's kind of like very down south, right next to Texas. That's where Louisiana is.
I'm going to Weatherford in Texas, just next to Louisiana, and it's just outside Dallas.
Both of you, how strange is that to go to 2 completely different colleges in 2 completely different states? How strange is that going to be?
I mean, I think it's going to be a bit more strange that we're a lot closer to each other, because we've spent the last 2 years being in totally different countries for most of the year. So being like, a 6-hour drive away from each other for most of the year is going to be a little crazy to start with.
Yeah, and I think that it's good we chose different colleges because we wanted different experiences. And I think it would have been different if we went to the same one. So we're glad we're in different places, but we're so close to each other that if we need each other, we can get there.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned before, Kandra, about you've been there, this is to be your 3rd year over there in the US. Have you given your little sister there beside you what to expect when she goes over to the US?
Yeah, I think like as soon as she said she wanted to go, I think she's just asked me questions and asked me what it was like and what kind of like training we did, what the girls were like, what's the atmosphere like. And I mean, like every school's different, and I was very fortunate to get into a very good program. But yeah, just giving her little like pieces of advice of situations that I went through that I found she should have done differently than I did, sort of thing. So yeah, definitely been giving her little bits and pieces.
Let's talk a bit about both your softball journeys. Obviously, with both you being sisters, obviously the journey is going to be almost very similar. How did both of you get involved in the sport of softball? And one or the other can answer the question.
Oh,
got
God.
this.
It's a little funny because as a kid, I wasn't into like anything that was even remotely athletic, like soccer, nothing like that. I didn't want to run. So mum and dad found a sport that had the least amount of running in it, which ended up being softball. And that's actually how we got into it to start with.
And mention both your pictures. Is there a particular game that you just absolutely had an absolute blinder in striking everyone out?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Specific game. I'd have to say there was a grand final I played against Sutherland, and it was an under-19s, and we won the state championships. And that's going to be probably one of the best games I pitched, at least for me.
I was playing state league against a lot older people than I am, so about my sister's age and above, and they're all really good players, and it was against, I think, Sutherland, and I had a really, really good game. It was 0 until we swapped pitches, but it was a really good game I played.
By the sounds of it, both of you love playing against Sutherland, by the sounds of it.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Now, I have to ask, what does the sport of softball mean to both of you, and especially playing and representing Hornsby?
Softball for me, I feel like has been something that has given me a lot of life skills, I guess. Especially we did not start at Hornsby. We were originally from a country association called Hawkesbury. And about when I was like 13, we transferred over to Hornsby. And I found like the environment there, they were really inviting, really encouraging, really accepting, just to like bring us into their culture, which is like a very close-knit, small association that just had your back.
Yeah.
And they supported us in everything. Like I remember going off to Worlds for 19s women's and them holding a day to raise money to help support me to get over there. And like, I didn't have to say anything. My family didn't say anything. They organized that all by themselves. They did it. And I was so shocked they did that. It was just something really special that I feel like it's really hard to find these days in like an association kind of sport with Hornsby.
Yeah, they're very welcoming, and I reckon at Hornsby we've made lifelong friends. Like I've made some of my best friends there, and they're all very supportive, and they help you through along if things aren't going well, and it's a really good environment to be in, and we're lucky enough to get that.
Yeah.
And how important has your parents and your family been to your softball journeys? And obviously now with the opportunity for both of you to do really well over in college.
I feel like we started off softball as a family sport. So it wasn't just like me and Teoni started softball together. Mum, dad, our 2 older sisters, all of us played it together. And we'd spend Saturdays from like 8 a.m. all the way until like 4 p.m. at the fields, at the diamonds. We'd just be that one family that's there all day and everyone knew sort of thing. So our family altogether has been like an amazing help. Yeah. Driven us to be our best, taken us to trainings for like, I've been playing softball for 14 years now.
Yeah.
Oh, longer than that.
You're
16 years now. And like, without them, I don't think we'd even have the opportunity to go overseas and get an education over there, sort of thing.
Yeah, they sacrificed a lot of their time to help us get to where we are. They're definitely our biggest supporters, and we definitely would not be here without them.
Beyond college, is there any short or long-term goals for both of you in the sport of softball?
After college, yeah, I think it will just be back to making state teams and trying to see how far we can get. Definitely pushing as far as we can and training and helping others, and definitely going back to our association and giving back with like coaching and all that. That's what my future looks like.
Yeah, I feel like softball just got put back into the Olympics for 2020, but got pushed back to 2021. So I feel like if it continues to stay there, the Olympics is definitely something I'd want to strive for. To be like the absolute top of that would be absolutely amazing. But yeah, just the little steps they've reached that point is definitely where I want to go after college is done.
Now, what will be your advice to our listeners out there that should get involved in softball, especially there at Hornsby?
I guess softball can, like, it doesn't have to be something serious. You want to play, go have fun with it. And if you do like it, just put in the work and the time, the dedication, because the sport gives back to you when you give it what it needs.
Yeah, I'm a big believer. So with me, you have to believe in yourself to get where you want to go. You can't get there without believing. Like, you're never going to achieve something if you don't believe you can do it. So I'm very much of making people believe they can do it so they can get as far as they can. Even if it's just club because they love it, or if they want to make state teams and the Olympic team and stuff like that.
And do both of you have any softball highlights?
Oh, softball highlights. I think I said this earlier. Beating Florida 2 out of 3 series game was pretty big for us, especially because they're a powerhouse school and we're only like a mid-major, not too up there. So beating them in a series kind of game situation at their home field was pretty amazing. A once in a lifetime situation.
My highlight was I got to play against Chinese Taipei, and I pitched really well against them, and they're older than I am, and it was a really good experience for me to have, and I was so excited I got to do it.
Now let's finish on with a couple of lighthearted questions now. Which is now, of course, you I think both of you mentioned before about, I guess, the whole family has been involved in the sport of softball, and one of you said that you have 2 older sisters as well.
Yes.
Who played the sport. I have to ask, who's the better softball player?
They're pretty bad. My second eldest, Shale, because my eldest, Rachel, is just very uncoordinated.
Out of the 2 of them, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a second oldest.
Oh, God.
Any embarrassing moments for both of you?
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
I was playing a game once and I turned around and someone threw the ball into the back of my head. That was embarrassing.
Oh, my God.
That was mine.
No. I mean, not really an embarrassing moment for me, but for my team, I remember being in the locker room and one of the girls, like, putting their food into the microwave and it set alight. And we all stood around and stared at it for like 5 minutes until we realized, like, we had to do something about it. Yeah, that was pretty horrendous. That was really bad.
So I've got to ask this a follow-up question on that. What was the food they put in the microwave that set alight?
It was some sort of like rice and meat dish that they had, and it was actually in a microwavable proof plate. But because she had gone back to back so quick with another dish, it just it just lit up.
Right. Now, who's the comedian in the team?
Oh.
In my team, it'd be my friend Libby. She always cracks jokes. It could be the serious conversation ever, and she's over here giggling her head off, cracking a joke about who knows what.
Oh, God. I feel like there's a lot of people, just different types of humors. Like, I have my friend Charlotte Finch, she has a very dry sense of humor. And if you don't get it, you just look at her like she's crazy. And then you've got, like, my best friend, Emily Simpson. She's the funniest person I know, by far.
Now, I have to ask these next 2 questions because obviously both of you are going to college. Now, obviously, this question is specifically for you, Kandra, in particular, which is, in your college team, have any of them tried to put the Australian accent, and how's that travelling?
Oh God, yes. That's not even a question. Every time I talk, at least one of them mimics me. And it's just a thing they do. And I look at them, they're like, I'm going to get it one day. And it's never really good. They end up sounding more British than Australian. But yeah, they try to mimic me. And then they try to get me to say stuff in their accent because they're just obsessed with it. And it doesn't work either. It's really bad.
Who do you the most on the team?
I want to say Bailey Curry. She's probably one of our like bigger hitters in the team, and she plays first base. But yeah, every time I talk to her, I'll say stuff and she'll just giggle to herself and then try to like repeat it back to me every time.
And one last one before I let both of you go, which is this is the same thing in regards to the college team. I guess, have any of you had during this isolation lockdown, have any of you had a chance to catch up with any of your college teammates? And if so, have you convinced any of them to come down to Australia with you?
I mean, my entire team wants to come down to Australia. They want to like do a tour where they play all the teams down here. Like that's something they want to do. But specifically, I caught up with one of our other pitchers, Summer Ellison, who's engaged and she's having her wedding this year, or she's supposed to. So just talked about me coming back because she's a little bit worried about me coming back. And yeah, just asked her about her wedding. And yeah, she's really excited for it. But yeah, everyone wants to come down. Like Australia's like a novelty to them. They love it.
I haven't actually met any of my teammates yet. I've only met my coaching staff. But I'm sure my pitching coach in college, he was about to bring a put together team down to Australia this year. And it would have just passed. And I was going to go with them and just travel like up through Queensland and back down with them. But yeah, I'm really excited to come over.
And of course, we'll finish off with this one last one, which is, what is the thing that both of you be looking forward to once you go back to the US?
I think for me, it's just going to be like the constant training and the constant seeing the girls again, because you get used to being with them so much throughout the year that you kind of start to miss them when you leave. So going back into that environment where constantly training, constantly seeing them every day, having that repetitive structure of a routine is something that I'm really looking forward to again. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to meeting my team and getting to know them all. I'm really also looking forward to the environment, and the schooling is a plus, but it's mostly playing softball and getting to know my team and making new friends.
Well, both of you, thank you so much for giving up your time to join us. Obviously, it's going to be a busy week ahead towards both of you heading off to the US. Hopefully we'll get to stay in touch while you're over there and see how you're traveling, and obviously hopefully you can give us some updates how your team and yourself are going over there, and because we'd love to share your story back home, how you've been traveling over there in the US.
Thank you for having us. Yes,
no worries. And of course, that is, of course, Lamb Sisters there, of course, from the Hornsby Softball Association. As we mentioned, of course, both of them are going to college as of next week. And, of course, we'll keep you up to date on how how their teams are going once the season starts over there in the 2021 season. There's more on the Smash Sport Show right after this. Don't go away. Here on Lockdown Tuesday.